Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're listening. Welcome to the 89th of hopefully many episodes of Bardadvice, a D&D slash TTRPG slash nerd centric podcast where I, Charles Chaz Yazik, the DM, the Bard, however you may know me, do my best to answer any questions that you might have regarding any of those topics, or maybe some others that I didn't mention. At the top of the show, we like to thank everyone for coming and hanging out and being in the chat and participating, and also remind everybody of the email, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. Please send all of your questions, complaints, concerns, criticisms, critiques, etc. to bardadvice@gmail.com. If you want to get some merch, do so over at manshorts.com, or go over to krakendice.com and get one of our 4 dice sets that we made with them this year if you haven't already. And if you want to contribute to anything that I do musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. Also at the top of the show, I'd like to thank all of our members, patrons, super chatters. Remind everybody to please like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, rate the podcast, join the Discord. There's a link in the chat, and play Bard Go, which you can find out about if you join the Discord. Quick announcement before we get into Art Corner and we get into some questions this evening. There will be no Bard Advice next week. Unfortunately, next weekend, well, unfortunately for Bard Advice, but not completely unfortunately, because next weekend is the 48-Hour Film Festival, which Justin and I will be entering and participating in again. I don't know if we did last year. I don't think we did. But we're going to be doing it this week, this year, so that's next weekend. So, unfortunately, Friday nights, I'm going to be pretty much busy the whole time writing. We get our prompts at 7, and then from there, it's just a conversation, and then getting the script together, and then, of course, you know, the quicker you can get the script together, the better, because you want to start shooting first thing in the morning on Saturday. So, and eventually, that'll be available for people to see at some point in the future, whatever we end up making. So, and I, of course, will talk about it. So, but yeah, so next week, the 27th, there will be no Bard Advice, unfortunately, but we will return on 10/4, October, to continue on with Bard Advice as usual. So, now that we got all of that out of the way, got a couple of things for Art Corner this evening. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is something that I actually just watched a couple of hours ago, and I'm still kind of reeling for how much I enjoyed it, is The Penguin. The first episode of The Penguin with Colin Farrell is out on HBO. And it's pretty good. I mean, there are definitely some moments in there where it's like, you know, some of the dialogue and the writing is kind of but I think he carries it well. It seems like he's put a lot into this role. I don't really know much about that guy or like his movies, but he seems to have really put himself into the role and created a character that you're interested in, or at least that I was interested in. So I would highly recommend checking that out if you have HBO. The Penguin, first episode is out now, and I suspect that it's going to release weekly. I guess that's how these things do these things. And I don't know, maybe DC people will be spaghetti about, you know, any kind of liberties that are taken with lore. Usually that happens with people from the comics. So we'll see. The other thing that's for Art Corner this week, technically, is that the PHB has finally arrived. And look, they've got this this good marketing piece here that's like, you know, 50 years, and the new handbook is here. So not sure if anybody's interested in getting that, but it is available if and you didn't know. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there as part of what's going on in Art Corner. And before I forget, as I like to try and mention here lately on the show, the new stream that Songaria and I do on Sundays, Bartificial Intelligence. It's on at Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Song's YouTube channel. I've got a link to it in the description of this video. Basically, we just build AI music on stream with the chat. Weekly we create our own songs off stream, and then we review those and talk about them, and just talk about Suno in general and all the new tools that it's getting, especially lately. And then we build AI music with chat on stream. So if that sounds something that you might be interested in, come check it out. Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Song's channel. So that's Artificial Intelligence. So, okay. That's all of the things that I wanted to get out of the way for Art Corner. We're actually going to open this week's episode with a follow-up just because it was just a really funny email that I got and was really happy to get. And there's not really a question in there, but there's some cool stuff in there, so we can go through that. So this is a follow-up from Dave, and this is not a follow-up on anything specific as far as like a question goes, but you'll see what it is. All right, this is from Dave. I'm just some random dude in Ohio. I binge drunk before noon and the D&D shorts while I'm sleeping. I've seen them all so many times. That makes me feel very, very fulfilled. Thank you. I play Yazik music at work, etc., 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 yada, yada, yada. You have to say it 3 times because of Seinfeld. You're all amazing, and I figured there was some candy on Amazon that everyone forgot existed. I'm also half drunk on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm laughing that I even found it. I also included a fanboy pic because you're all awesome. Well, thank you very much, Dave, for the kind words, and that was a fun email. So this is, I actually took out the Creme Savers from the full. I really should have just saved the screenshot the way that I did it, which was in the email he included a link to Creme Savers on Amazon. And in the recent, if you watch the D&D episodes, in the recent episode in the blooper reel, I mentioned, Justin and I were talking about the fact that they don't exist anymore. Well, apparently they exist. You just can't get them, the way that the way that you used to could, like in the store and stuff. So that's cool. That's number one cool thing about that is the Creme Savers. And then also this image that he included with the sets of dice that he has from good old Kraken Dice. So that was really cool to see. And we're of course grateful that you enjoy the content and that you spend your hard-earned money on us with our stuff, with the stuff that we make. I hope that you enjoy the dice. But most of all, it was just kind of a cool email to get, just like a fun fan email. And it really does make me feel good that you enjoy the content so much, because we put effort into it. So let me see what's going on in chat before. So thank you. Thank you for the follow-up, Dave. That's cool. And a reminder to everybody, you can get Creme Savers on Amazon. They're like $4. And you can get our dice on krakendice.com. I'm going to miss something here in the How Do the Vampire songs. Oh, they're pretty good, man. You should go check out the VOD. Send positive thoughts for Penny as she has to have cancer surgery next week. It's the 10th anniversary of reverse cancer surgery. Well, positive thoughts to you, Penny. Best of luck with that. Need more episodes. Yeah, and I've talked briefly in the past about like maybe D&D making DBN, Drunk Before Noon, making a comeback in the form of like TikTok. I've still been thinking about how I want to do that because, as we do less and less of the D&D episodes, the artist in me needs that itch scratched. So if I've got, if I don't have enough to do, I'll fill it with something. So we might bring it back. All right, so let's get into some questions. We have some questions this evening in addition to the follow-ups and the art corner and all the stuff. So let's talk about stuff. So the first question of the evening is from Hal. Oh, this kind of goes into just what I was talking about, so that'll be interesting. So Hal asks, hey, Charles, you seem to stay pretty busy. Yep. What does a typical week in the life of the Bard look like schedule-wise? Thanks and best wishes to you and the whole Man Shorts crew. Well, thank you, Hal. Very much appreciate the question. As a reminder, please send in questions. Questions keep this thing going. So my schedule does tend to fluctuate slightly depending on what I've got going on. But I was just talking to a buddy about this recently because I find it interesting that my day starts on Sunday. Or my week starts on Sunday. So I work open to close the vape shop on Sunday, and then Sunday night I've got the streaming, the Artificial Intelligence stream with Songaria. And then I open on Monday and work till about 4. In the evenings, I either work on school, which I've been doing like the last month or 2 or 3 months, or write and edit, depending on what I've got. Tuesday, I close the vape shop and then work on writing and editing, mostly editing the BG3 video for the week. Wednesday, I usually get up and finish the Baldur's Gate 3 video and work on stuff around the house, like mowing or pressure washing, which I'm a little behind on lately because it just rained for like 2 weeks straight. Wednesday nights, I usually game, actually. We finished Baldur's Gate 3, and we've been playing Halo lately, but I think we're going to be playing Satisfactory soon, so that's fun. And also on Wednesdays, I record and edit the ad if we have one, which has been kind of sporadic lately. Thursdays are usually shoot days, whether I work at the vape shop or not, but if I don't have anything to shoot, I'll work on stuff around the house or music. Fridays, I work on editing the episode for the week if we have one. And then Friday nights, it's this, bardadvice. After this show, I edit for the release the next day. Saturdays, I'm usually off, so I usually just kind of chill or run errands in the afternoon and then edit and make sure that everything's ready for the episode that next night. Spend time with my wife. Oh, yeah, and then during all of that, yeah, that's the next piece of that. In between all of that stuff, I study, spend time with my wife, help mom and grandma with stuff that they might need, work on music, write, etc. And I do find time to sleep, though usually if I sleep more than like 5 or 6 hours, it's not a fun time. So that was kind of boring. We did finish the Dark Urge run. There are going to be at least 3 more episodes, maybe 4, before that's all done. Don't forget Sundays. Yeah, I know that, Pirate. Thank you. Yes, that's what I do on Sundays during the football season is watch the Jaguars. I might protest and like not even watch on Monday. Just out of sheer, just like, I'm not doing it. What am I studying? I'm working on my CompTIA A+ certification. CompTIA? I don't know if it's CompTIA or CompTIA, by the way. That's one of those things where I don't know how to say it because I've only ever read it. So maybe it is CompTIA, but it's an A+ certification for working with computers. And I don't run a vape shop, but I work at one part-time. So working at a vape shop I actually started doing because partly out of convenience because it was close to where I lived, but also because vaping is what helped me quit smoking. And, you know, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say that vaping is healthy because it isn't. and to be fair, the data is out on that. But we know that from the studies we have that vaping's way safer than smoking cigarettes. So I used to smoke cigarettes. I was a pack-a-day smoker. I tried multiple different methods of quitting, and vaping was the only thing that got me to quit. So I'm happy to kind of like help facilitate that for other people. And the company that I work for has really great like return and exchange policies with stuff. They really like put in extra effort to speak with the customer about what their wants and needs are because we want to help them quit smoking and be our customers. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of rewarding in that way. It's cool. Just keeping people off of cigarettes, you know? So, okay, got a little off track there. Well, I guess not really. You asked about the schedule. So, yeah, that's what it is. And, you know, it's subject to change and vary, like I said, depending on what's happening. But, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And I'm officially done. I don't think that I said that, by the way. I'm officially done with my lesson plan for my A+ certification. So I've done all of the work, and now at this point, I'm in study town. So it's just, I'm going to take a week or two just kind of like studying, refreshing on things, making sure that I'm comfortable with everything, and then take the exam. And hopefully complete the exam, pass the exam, get my certification, and then get myself a job doing something computer-related. That's the goal. So, but yeah, thank you for the question, Hal. Let's keep moving because we've got some more this evening. I think we've got 7 total. So, all right. So the next question is from Thomas. And Thomas asks, hey, Bard. Well, the new PHB is here. Each of the 12 base classes now have 4 subclasses, lending to 48 unique character variations. Do you think this wide array of options will cause a paradox of choice among new or even experienced players? Thanks and best wishes to you and the Man Shorts crew. Well, thank you for the question, Thomas. And I haven't looked through them all come completely as of yet. So I can't speak to the specificity of that, but I don't think that I think overall it won't matter as much. I think it's possible that with the extra options, you might have like a paralysis of choice or a paradox of choice, or whatever they call it. But I think that I think it won't be an issue because it's it's possible that it seems intimidating, right? Just due to the sheer number of character choices. But the new players are often intimidated anyway. So, at least with the extra options, there's a better chance that you can get them to the character that they want to play faster and more effectively, efficiently. And I think that that's what Wizards of the Coast thinks too. They've already tried to streamline, and now it's like a nice rounded number. I still don't know why they don't just make the Artificer a full base class. Artificer, potato. Lacks the richness you need. I'd be interested to hear what your specific experience was as to why it didn't work. Some of them are great. Some of them still suck. Assassin was super nerfed. I don't like the 4 subclass stuff. Just give me the 3/5 supplements any day. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it does seem to be a little bit overkill. But again, we've talked recently about how Wizards has reached this, I don't know, this level that they can operate on volume, that they can just kind of do whatever they want to do, and it's all about new player acquisition. Which, by the way, is how a lot of companies operate with sales, right? I've worked for several companies in the past, major corporations who, they don't really care as much about customer service with existing customers as they do about new customers, because they serve to earn more from new customers. And so I think Wizards is the same way, where they're just kind of like, well, no, we'll just keep moving forward because every day there are new players, new people that are interested in it. Somebody sees like a Critical Role video or one of our videos or Jenny D or Will from D&D Shorts or something, especially with things like TikTok now. It's been put in the fast lane. So people see these things and they're like, oh, what's going on? And then now they play D&D. And so, yeah, I don't think that it's going to make it any more of a paradox of choice than there already is with stuff. I think that it makes it easier for, if you've got a new player coming in and they're like, I want to do this, and there's a specific subclass that applies to that, then you can put them on the path that they need to be on more easily for them. Because that was certainly something that was an intimidating thing for me coming into 3.5, was just the sheer number of books and data of just like, yeah, well, here's your base stuff, and then there's this. Here's the PHB, and then there's the PHB2, and then there's the Monster Manual, but then there's this different version of the Monster Manual, and there's the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Dungeon Master's Guide 2, and then there's like 30 other books, and all of them have stuff in it. So I can relate to the paradox of choice with that. But I don't think it's going to apply to just like 50 classes, it's not that many. And a lot of them are kind of like repetitive too. I homebrew so much that a lot of what they've added is already worked into fit in my campaign. Also, with hiring, it costs less to hire new employees than give raises. Wow, that makes sense. Yeah, and hey, funny you mentioned that, because the companies that I was thinking of that I've worked for in the past that operated on the idea of new customer acquisition over existing customers were also companies that were kind of rotating doors with their employment, where it was just like, oh yeah, what's the average life expectancy of a job here? It's like, oh, like 18 months to 2 years. Bank gives out gifts for new accounts, but screw the old customers. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the way. It's like, just keep pushing forward and acquiring new money. I don't know. I don't think it's great. I think they should put a little effort into the customer, because especially like working with the vape shop, like most of our employees, or rather most of our customers, are regulars. So take care of the regulars. It's real hot in Texas. Yeah, it's actually been bearable here the last couple of days. You know, our summers, it's 100 degrees every day, and then it rains, thunderstorms in the afternoon. And then the last 2 weeks, it's been storming, raining, haven't been able to mow and stuff. And then the last 2 days, it's been like 90, 88. What's it right now? Yeah, it's 88 out now. That's not that bad. So, all right. Well, I think that there's an answer there. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think people will figure it out. I just wish the Wizards of the Coast would bring back my favorite subclass, the Incantatar. It was 96. Nice. Yeah, but Texas is like dry heat. Is it all that humid in Texas? I don't think so. All right. Let's keep moving. More questions. Thanks for the question, Thomas. The next question is from Chris. And Chris asks, what life milestone are you most proud to have achieved? Which are you most excited to hit? Thank you for the question, Chris. This was a fun exercise to think about. This is a positive thing for me, I suppose, because I'm not somebody, I wouldn't consider myself much of like a winner when it comes to just like general luck with like awards and or like, you know, my wife's really lucky and my grandma's really lucky. They win stuff. Like they win like contests and sweepstakes and board games, and I've never really been that way. But I've been published a few times in the paper in my life, as well as in a book of poetry when I was a kid. We've won the Jacksonville 48-Hour Film Festival at least twice. I think it actually might technically be 3 times. I'm always unsure on that. I always forget. But I know we've won at least twice. And in 2022, our film Threshold won Best Film at Filmapalooza, which is the global version of the 48-Hour Film Festival. We were the first American team to win in over a decade, and the Jacksonville mayor wrote us up a proclamation that May the 15th is 48-hour Film Day in Jacksonville. So that's really cool. I have a copy of one of those on my wall. The silver play button from YouTube was a pretty big deal for me. After, you know, you get that when you hit 100,000. I don't know if they've changed that now. But that was a big deal because I started making videos back in like 2008. And also, while I technically haven't finished it yet, I'm officially done with my A+ certification lesson plan and will be studying for the next week or two before I take my test. So I suppose that that's one I'm proud of and also excited to hit, because I was never really all that good at school. And so, you know, there was a little uncertainty for me when I went into this as to how I would do, but I think I've enjoyed it, and I think that I've done well. So let's get council approval. What are we going to submit this year? Well, we don't know. See, that's the thing about the 48. So if anybody doesn't know how the 48 works, you get 48 hours to make your film. I think they usually meet at like 6 or 7 p.m. on Sunday, and you randomly draw. So there are some variables that are constant, right? There's, I think, a character name that has to be used, and like maybe what their profession is. I don't know if that's even it. I think it's just the name of the character. And then there's a line that has to be said at some point in the context of the film. And then there's a prop that has to be used. And you randomly draw your genre, which could be anything from like superhero movie to horror to drama to comedy, all kinds of stuff. So it's a bit random. And I think we might have pulled drama when we won with Threshold, because I remember in the writer's room on that being excited about drama. So I think we nailed that one. Anyway, once you have your stuff, then you just go. And typically our process is get the script written out on Friday, get all the like blocking and planning out as to like what we're going to be doing on Saturday. I really should say what they're going to be doing on Saturday, because I haven't been on set for a 48 in years. I just write. So most of my job is Friday, but then I'm available for the weekend for whatever might need be. And then Saturday's usually filming all day Saturday, and then Sunday is editing, where you turn it and you edit Sunday and then turn it in at that 48 mark, whether it's 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. And then they look at them. What'll happen when I get my cert? Well, I'm hoping that I'll be able to get a job somewhere in IT. That's the goal. Do they give the prop, or is it like mad dash to Amazon? Typically, Chris, it's a prop that's like common enough that anybody would have it. So it'll be something like a piece of paper or like a hammer. So usually it's not something too crazy. But I don't think that they provide props now. Getting your master's in Indiana Jones stuff. Yeah, man, go. You could do it. You're already doing it. You're already on the way. Sounds like a story to write a mystery game. A broken car prop. Yeah, maybe. It could be anything like that. So, but yeah, those are the things I suppose that I'm proud of. I was gonna say that I'm proud to have achieved falling in love and marrying the person that I love. Just because I'm grateful for that. I'm more grateful for that than I am proud. Because I do think pride should be reserved for things that you like achieve. And falling in love is just kind of a thing that I was fortunate enough to be a part of with my wife. So, yeah. I already have the master's degree. That was your greatest accomplishment. Oh, well, then there you go. Good. That's a good thing to have, though, That's a big deal. We were talking recently, my wife and I were watching Disney zoo animal stuff, and we were talking about how in another life I would have gone into ichthyology. I actually was really interested in it in high school and out of high school, but I don't know, too much math and science, maybe? Airplane prop. All right, so that's the answer for that question. Thank you, Chris. That was fun. Keep it moving. We've got some more questions. And this next question's from my mom. This is actually pretty fun. So, and I don't know if she's actually here. I think she might have went to bed early, but Mom asks, hey, son, if every class had a major injury, what would they do about it? Love, Bard, Mom. Also, I should point out, I didn't put it on the card for the question, but she did make reference to my grandfather's incident with a chainsaw, evidently. I don't know. I don't remember this. This might have been before my time, but evidently one time he was working in the yard doing something and he cut his leg with a chainsaw and he just kind of like tied it up with like a towel and just kept working. I'm kind of that way too. I'm a weird one because I think people get the misconception that I'm lazy because I'm like super ADHD. But I will just work until I fall over. My thing is getting started. That's my problem. And if I've got a task that needs doing, I can work 12 hours straight, no problem. So, which is a good and a bad thing, I guess. But so, all right, let's go through it. These are the classes and how they would respond to injuries. Barbarian would power through it. They probably wouldn't even notice. And even if it did hurt, they'd refuse any kind of aid. Barbarians are the ultimate tough guys. The Bard would milk it. Tons of drama. By the 15th or 20th time they told the story, it would be way more major of an injury than it actually was. Cleric would pray to their deity, ask for protection, and then just heal themselves. Druid would make a splint from a tree branch and vines or mix up some sort of natural medicine of plants and herbs. Fighter would be proud of themselves, another scar in the life of combat. Monk would meditate and heal themselves with ki. Paladin would just heal themselves and only themselves. Ranger would use similar tactics to the Druid, stuff like good berries or even cure wounds on themselves. The Rogue would brush it off at first, but definitely would keep bringing it up, like years later. Like, remember that time I got gored by that bull? Sorcerer would use metamagic to cast healing spells, but otherwise would just ask other healers for help. Warlock would bargain with other members in their party for healing potions or scrolls. And the wizard would probably bleed out because they spend too much time analyzing the wound and deciding what to do. All right, let me see what people in chat are saying. As a DM who uses lingering injury rules, I love this question. Why do they do that? Clerics heal, pals lay on hands. The rest ask the clerics to bail them out. Artificer, guess who gets robotic body parts? Yeah, that's true. Rogues would ask for the red pants. Barbarians definitely shattered orbital socket. Fighters definitely... Oh, you approached this totally different than I did. So I approached this from the standpoint of how they would react. But this is really cool as to like what the injuries are. I like that, though. Let's talk about that. Barbarians a shattered orbital socket. Fighters a broken bones or missing limb. Wizards definitely chemical burns. Yeah, I feel like the rogues would be like a stab to the gut. Or maybe like a heavy slice as they were trying to get out of the way of something. Barbarian chews off injured part. Bard sobs about it and sings a song about how it works. Fighter bandages it and then forgets about it. Paladin prays away. Monk does the same. Chicks dig scars. Yeah, I was thinking that when I was writing that up, Pirate. I was like, yeah, that's the fighter's attitude would totally be like, oh, this is going to be a cool scar. Warlocks are carpal tunnel. Rogues get Chelsea grins. Yeah, I could see that. My dad worked as an electrician for 40 plus years. Stayed home sick maybe 6 or 7 times altogether. Yeah, man, that's... Like I said, I'm hard to get started, but I'll just run. I'll just keep working. Haven't watched streams in a while. Well, thank you for hopping in here. I've been good. Just hanging out. Same old bardadvice stuff. Just doing bard stuff. Barb will be blistered fingers from loot playing. Yeah, most definitely. Like, just calloused fingertips. Oh, man. That's fun. Yeah, I didn't even think of it from the other perspective, but that is cool. Like, what would the injury be? Oh, man. All right, well, let's keep going. We've got some other questions. Oh, this next one, these next few actually are interesting. So we got a couple more questions, and then we'll do a little chat for the evening. So thanks, Mom. That was fun. Both methods of answering that question were fun. So thank you for the participation. So the next question is from Jonathan. The rogue got stabbed in the back. Yeah, most definitely backstab. The next question is from Jonathan. Or John, I should say. And John asks, hello, Bard. If you could make an entirely new player class, what would it be? And what would be some of its class features? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John, for the question. I think I might have answered this before, but I'd like to do it again because it's interesting to think about. I think that if I was asked this question before, I definitely remember saying something about a class that took elements from all other classes, which is technically what the Bard is supposed to do. But I like the idea of creating a magic/martial hybrid class that affords features and abilities that typically belong to like magic items or high-level spells. So at its base, it would be a spellcasting class, but you would have to weigh your strength and or dex and your intelligence because you'd be able to do stuff like animate weapons, return weapons, make things explode. So it's like a magic-based weapon specialization, which I know that you can kind of already do, but this just sounds kind of cooler, like almost like a muscle wizard. Because like the fact that you can return your weapon doesn't mean much if you can't throw it or hit with it to begin with. So you would have to balance your top skills as being strength or dex, depending on what you're using, and intelligence, and which doesn't leave much room for con. It makes you a little bit squishy. And since weapons and magic matter almost equally, at least for this hypothetical class, I'd make them more like half casters, so they wouldn't be as powerful as your typical casters as far as spell slots or level spells that they could cast. In fact, the spells that they would have would be more like very specific to them. That they couldn't. I would make it so that they wouldn't be able to cast other spells than their own in their own specific class. Like even with like feats or abilities that would allow them to, there's some sort of a restriction to it. So, all right, let me see what chat is saying. Super Saiyan. There is a Super Saiyan homebrew class available online. I know that. Is there a class like the 3-5 Factotum in 5e 2024? I'm not. I don't remember the Factotum. River probably knows the answer to that question. Would a single-handed regular-sized sword, not a short sword, be a two-handed greatsword for a halfling? I don't think so. You mean like a long sword? Maybe. I mean, a halfling could use it two-handed. I think I did this before when I talked about in 3.5 where I was a half-orc dragon shaman, and the weapon that I carried was 2 sizes larger than me because I had monkey grip, and so I was able to wield a large. I think that the default it's large, and then I don't know. I always forget this when I try and tell this story. But basically, I set it up so that I could carry 2 sizes higher than I was supposed to and wield it two-handed. So suppose that you could wield it two-handed as a halfling. And, whoops. Sorry about that. But yeah. What are your thoughts, chat, on what would your class be? Because that's really, I feel like a lot of stuff is accounted for, is available as to what you might want to accomplish. But I think something like that would be cool, where you're just kind of like a very special, either that or something having to do with like chronomancy, like altering time. That'd be pretty cool. Factotums, as I remember them, were a jack-of-all-trades explorer kind of class, so a bard would be the 5e variant given how they are designed. Yeah, you'll find, by the way, Stephen, that a lot of just the base classes from previous editions are much more fleshed out in terms of capability, just in the base classes. Things that would take you, 5 or 6 books to make in 3.5, you can do in the first couple of levels of the base classes in 5e now. A bastard sword would be a claymore to a halfling or a gnome. Or a bard rogue. Yeah, I don't remember factotums either. There were a couple of classes, though, that were like that. It depends on whether it was a base class or like a prestige class, or what was the other one? Well, I guess it's just a multi-class. So a base or prestige. I think prestige implies that there's a lot more. Well, prestige class has prereqs, whereas a base class wouldn't. So, yeah, there's just not as many. The class you would like to play was a war mage, base class from Dungeonscape. Factotums were like rogue wizards and how they played. That sounds cool. Yeah, there was a lot of that stuff in like the Complete Arcane and the Complete Adventurer, and all those old 3.5 books. But yeah, in my experience, 5e doesn't have as much of an expansive universe with that stuff, but like I said, the base classes, a lot of that stuff is covered. So you can you could probably find it. That's, I think, the difficulty in creating a new class, especially since they've set it up this way now, where they've just kind of tried to cover all their bases. But time mage based on Final Fantasy tactics of the same name could be interesting to play. Yeah, chronomancy in general, I think, would be way cool, because being able to freeze time or speed up time or slow down time. Well, I guess those are really the only 3 options that you have, but they're all really powerful in their own right. You can bring anything 3.0 or 3.5 into 5. Yeah, 5.5. What are they doing with this? Are they even messing with that? Or are they just They just keeping it as D&D 5e? I didn't even pay attention to that in the release. What does it say on the actual book? Does it say Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition? Or I wonder if it's, or is it 5.5? And if it's 5.5, does that imply 6? Any martial can be done by a fighter with feat selection, and any arcane is just a wizard with a spell selection. 5e is very easy to homebrew with, as well as bring stuff from other editions. Yeah, but because you can you make a custom class? I guess that you don't really need to. You can make a custom species that gives you, I guess with that in mind you could. But yes, so that's what I would say, John. I would do some sort of a martial magic hybrid class, just because it's cool to do both, even though you can kind of already do both in different ways. Maybe that's the answer, is that you combine the concept of that with like chronomancy, where they're like a chrono mage, chrono trigger. All right, let's keep moving. We've got 2 more questions, and then we'll do a little chat. Thank you for the question, John. That was fun. This next question, is also from Chris, and this is a really fun one too. So we'll talk about this. I'd be excited to hear what people's responses are to this. So Chris asks, assuming mimics were real in our world, which item do you think would have the highest body count? Thank you for the question, Chris. This was also a really fun exercise in thinking about phones for sure. If not phones, toilets. Everybody has a phone. Everybody uses the toilet. But it also depends on like the percentage of mimics, right? And like their rarity. Is it like Pokemon? If it was like 10% across the board for like any kind of item, I think phones, toilets, cars, it'd be pretty crazy to be eaten by a car. In fact, there's a Stephen King short story about that, about a car that eats people. It's pretty scary. Glasses. Any of us with glasses, or contacts, really, for that matter, don't stand a chance. And I think, too, like stuff like clothes, shoes. See what people are saying. The front door. It's a good one. Coffee mug. It's like Windows. Windows 3, 4, 5. They started naming them. Vista. Then went back to... Oh, yeah. Doorknobs. Amazon box. Driver's seat of your car. The toilet. Amazon box is a good... And that's a good one that I didn't think of. Amazon stuff. Because that would lure people in for sure. But it's like everybody has a phone already. Trash cans with swinging lids. Beds. Yeah, I think shoes. Coffee cup's a good one. Because that could, especially like if you ever worked at like an office where they're like community coffee cups, where they're just like cups that are like, obviously, be a person and wash it if you've used it and it's not yours and just put it back. But it's like, they have like a little kitchen with like cups that are kind of available for everybody. That'd be a spot for a mimic. Your dice set, yeah. Sarah's the mimic. No, because Sarah's going to kill you. There's no confusion there. It's no surprise. An Amazon mimic to ward off porch pirates. That would be pretty cool. Mimic gets decapitated with roll-up. Yeah, computers, I think, maybe. But phones, for sure, just because they're in everybody's pockets. The thing about phones is that there wouldn't be too much reusability. You'd basically be able to get who your owner was, right? I feel like if you were like a public toilet, probably get a lot of people. Probably have the highest body count if you were a toilet. There an outbreak of people arms getting bitten off throwing away a piece of trash. Oh, what about mailboxes? Everybody checks the mail. Windows, the most successful computer virus of all time. Oh, man. Don't hate on Windows. It's not so bad. Although, I will say, the more that I learn about computing and about just, software and hardware and stuff, the more Linux piques my interest. So, yeah, an Amazon Mimic is pretty awesome. Think about how many doors you have to open during the day. Doorknobs, handles are insanely common and something you interact with without thinking about it. That's very true. Now, the other thing to think about with this is that if we do live in a world where mimics exist, wouldn't you argue that it would probably be pretty difficult for a particular mimic to get multiple kills simply because of the fact that, like, well, we live in this world. So it's what I mean is like, if somebody goes to the bathroom and then they get eaten by the toilet that's a mimic, and it happens at like a bus station or something, aren't they going to just shut that down? Like, how long are they going to let that go on? So I guess then the question would be, how long would it have to go on? This is very, I think that the name of the book was The Bazaar of Broken Dreams, The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. Maybe The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. I was mixing it up with The Boulevard of Broken Dreams. The Boulevard Bazaar of Bad Broken Dreams. The Bazaar of Bad Dreams is a short story compilation, and one of the stories in there is a Stephen King story, is this car that eats people. And this car is just kind of parked at a rest stop that's like a rundown rest stop. So people just kind of keep coming to it. So, a seat on any transit vehicle, pizza box, KFC bucket. Yeah, I was thinking something like McDonald's fries. If you know what you're doing or trying to do, you'll find Linux is easier to build with on. 2020 is any indication. Oh, yeah, what about, like, masks? Glasses is a big one I thought of, because that's real scary. The mimic would have to move hunting grounds, but even so, it's not like it would run out of hiding spots. True. It makes me think of, like, Prop Hunt from Call of Duty, where it's just like, all right, well, I'll just move on to the next place. Maybe something as common as, like, a bench. That's a pretty good one, because a bench could be anywhere. It could be inside, it could be outside. You just eat a couple of people and then just move down the street. Somebody sees you moving, just stop. You're a bench. I thought that mimics could shapeshift, so once they got a victim, they could change into something else. Well, geez, if that's the case, then it's just a matter of spamming between phone, toilet, doorknob, and glasses. Guess it comes down to how smart the mimic is and if it can make deals with people. Yeah, that'd be a really interesting narrative, too, about, like, a mimic that convinces one or maybe more people to aid it in its goal of eating more people than any mimic ever has before. What was chasing you in the park? The park bench was chasing you. Yeah, people wouldn't believe you. Yeah, and shoes. Yeah, I had that on here. Shoes is a pretty big one, too. Mimics would have an endless buffet in a city due to all the good hiding spots. Yeah, most definitely. It could be something like a lamp or a newspaper stand or... I was going to say phone booth or a payphone, but I guess those don't really exist that much anymore. They're, like, more on the relic side of things, I guess you could say. So... But yeah, those are all the things. A beer bottle, that's a good one too, Pirate. That's good. Or about a lighter? A lot of people smoke. Or a vape. Oh, dude, like disposable vapes? It would be a bloodbath all over the planet. They're so popular right now. Disposable vapes is pretty crazy. Fire hydrant, that's solid too. Power outlets. Ooh. Or what about just like charging cables? Just wrap it around people's necks. And if you were a charging cable, it'd be way easy to hide. Wallet, dollar bill. Pirate of the delivery driver has it as a pet and delivers it to victims to feed it. Warehouse 13 of mimics, an old red phone booth. Photo booth. Yeah, that'd be cool. Or like an arcade machine. Butt sponge on a stick in a Roman bathroom. Not familiar. Sounds like an early human bidet. Mini mimics as pennies. Yeah, or buttons or something that seems not very threatening. It'd be fun. Alrighty, so that's the end of that question. Thank you for the question, Chris. That was fun. Those are always, you always come with the fun questions. The last question of the evening, before we get into a little chat, is from John, a different John than before. And John asks, Chaz, what happened at Trevor Bank? The Jags actually looked pretty good in the third quarter. Yeah, I know. What do you think the biggest issue is? Are you nervous for Monday Night Football against the Bills? Wow. Thank you for submitting the question. I won't thank you for the question itself because it just makes me sad. But I think Trevor actually said it best in the press conference, which is that we suck. I think that's a really good way, a good succinct way to put it, and it's just the reality of things. You know, recently I heard that no team that's opened the season 0-2 has gone to the playoffs since like the 60s. So that's a little disheartening. I think that the biggest problem is in the coaching. Obviously, the O-line is pretty awful, but our O-line's always awful. And I think the play calling might be worse, if that's possible. The reason I think that it's the coaching is that, you know, you mentioned that they look good in the third quarter. If you watch the Browns game, we were terrible in the first half. We looked good in the third quarter. We came out of the locker room looking like a totally different team. It was crazy. We came out, drove down the field in like less than, I think, 7 or 8 plays and scored. And it was like, oh, there's a real shot. We've got some real momentum. And then it just all fell apart again. I think Doug Peterson was calling the offense in the third quarter. And they just kind of fell back into it. They just kind of fell back into the loss. We do that a lot historically. You know, it's real stressful being a Jags fan. Cardiac cats. If I were in charge, I would fire Press Taylor. And if we have another losing season, they might just fire all the coaches. Because, you know, we have great weapons. We gave Trevor money. He's going to be there for a while. And, you know, we can't, granted, we can't give him any holes or protect any of them because our O-line's a cobbled together mess. And, yeah, I'm pretty worried about the Bills. But, you know, because they look really good this year. It'd be kind of embarrassing to just get spanked in front of the nation on Monday Night Football. But then again, knowing us, we might beat the Bills and then just lose the next 3 or 4 in a row because we do goofy stuff like that, you know? But at least the Bucs look good. You know what I mean? It's not terrible for all the Florida NFL teams. Who's going to be the Mimic for Halloween? Their biggest issue is their quarterback situation. Disagree. Look, I've been critical of Trevor for a while. In fact, preseason I was explaining to people that he might just be Blake Bortles, and we might just have to live with that. But I don't think it's a situation where it's like, yeah, put in Mac Jones, and now we're doing good because, you know, whether Mac Jones or Pat Mahomes is our quarterback, if Press Taylor is the offensive coach, I don't think we're going to do very well. We haven't won a game in like a year. And I get it, you know, Doug Peterson and, Press Taylor's like Doug Peterson's buddy. And but no, I think that it's a coaching problem first. And then you adjust the other things. Think that the Ravens, who are 0-2, could still make the playoffs. I don't know, dude. I don't know if the Ravens are better off this year than they were last year. I think last year might have been their shot. I feel that way about us. I feel that way about the Jags. I feel like last year, if we were going to make a real run into the playoffs, last year was the time. And obviously, Trevor's injury, couldn't get it going, couldn't figure it out. Because we looked pretty solid at the start of the season last year. And then Trevor got hurt, and then it just got worse and worse. And now it's just terrible coaching. And terrible O-line. And not great quarterback play. But, then again, I don't know how good Mac Jones would look behind that O-line either. Maybe you were a different team. Did we hire Tampa Bay for the third quarter? No, because if we would have hired Tampa Bay for the third quarter, we would have scored like 3 touchdowns and won. Mustangs had a regular season game for the first time in 4 seasons. Bye week, then homecoming versus the Golden Girls from Kingston. I don't know who all that. I don't know who those are. Typical for our team. Agros beat the best team and lose to the worst. Hold on. Is this Canadian stuff? We're officially in chat, by the way. So at this point, we can talk about anything. I technically think I answered the question. Yeah, I'm freaked out about the Bills. I don't like it. I don't like how we look. I don't think that we look as good as we did last year. And that's alarming because we didn't even make the finals last year. The playoffs. Basketball is going to be starting soon, though. That's exciting. That'll be fun. Seeing LeBron go into what, year 23? Tampa Bay versus Bo Nix and the Broncos. Well, hold on, y'all play Denver? What is y'all's schedule, by the way, Pirate? You guys have a hard schedule? Because if Baker keeps cooking, y'all might... well, if Derek Carr keeps cooking... Now, I don't know if that was more of an indictment on the Cowboys or a showing of the Saints, but that game was crazy. If your line is messed up, doesn't matter who the QB is. Yes, Ruby, thank you. Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, listen, I'm not saying that we wouldn't be doing better at quarterback if Mac Jones was in. I don't know that for sure. I've said already I have questions about Trevor. What I do know for sure is that whoever it is going to be getting rushed a lot. You know, when you got a guy like Myles Garrett, it's just embarrassing. There were, Trevor got sacked a couple of times, and there were so many just like rushes where he got hit. And, you look at the offensive linemen, and I would never venture to, I would never stand up here and say that I know what it's like to play professional football. But I know what stuff looks like, and when I'm looking at stuff, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of hustle. And I don't know if that's because they're hurt or because, there was a particular thing on that play that went wrong. But I think Cam Robinson is hurt again. So, we have a real not very good team in offensive line. So, chat, things for the week, good things for the week. What's good for everybody's week? My good thing for the week is that I finished my lesson plan for my stuff, so now I just have to study. That's a very good thing. What's happening with everybody else? Good things. It happens so often that the coach needs to go. Yeah, it's real bad. Don't like Press Taylor. Yesterday was International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Is that so? I miss all that stuff. What's this stuff about us getting a second moon for Thanksgiving? Why does that stuff just seem to like fall out of the sky? I've never heard anything about that. Isn't that a thing usually science covers where they're like, hey guys, in 2024 we're gonna have a second moon. Maybe it just came out of nowhere like the rain has been in the last 2 weeks here. Move-in date set for Tuesday. Well, that's good, I suppose. Moving in's good. Man, the Penguin was really cool. I think you guys should check that out. If you've got HBO and you're thinking about it, give that a watch. I was actually surprised at how... I shouldn't say I was totally surprised at how, like, vicious it was. Or graphic, maybe. Gory. Not too gory. But, it's just nice that they've got the freedom of being on HBO to kind of do what they want to do. It's a small asteroid that comes and goes every 350 years. Next weekend's a con in your town. That's fun. UWO is basically the Gonzaga of Canadian football. We play for the conference title almost every year. Nice. That must be nice. I don't know what that's like at all. You know how come I'm not? I don't know. Because I'm a Jaguars fan. And there was a tiny chance of us maybe doing something potentially, a couple of years ago. And then before that, not since I was a kid. We had a customer the other day demand we get some merchandise for Pittsburgh, and I got to listen to my manager explain that corporate only ships our store Eagles items. Interesting. An asteroid is due to be captured in Earth's orbit for a while, and then it will break free again. Too small to see with the naked eye. I did see something about that, too, about how, like, there's an asteroid coming. Yeah, no worries, River. Thanks for hanging around. Have a good one. Oh, and Satisfactory. That's been a new game in my life. Actually, my buddy Cody was kind enough to gift it to me on Steam. And I've been playing it, and boy howdy, it's just like a more fun Minecraft. Although I'm a little intimidated by just how expansive it is, and ultimately what designs will come from it, because it's super intensive and has a bunch of stuff. So, please, we live in Toronto, so the Maple Leafs haven't won in 57 years. Oh wow, it's tough. It's tough. We have no championships in Jacksonville. And to be fair, we've only existed since 1995. But, yeah, unless there are some drastic changes with personnel, whether that's whether that's players or coaches, I see us finishing like 6-11. 7-11, because now I will admit that like the harder games of our schedule are at the front of it, but then I was looking at it again recently and I was like, I don't think it's as easy as I originally thought. Some teams have surprised me. I was an Indian fan, so that balances it out. Just posted Tampa Bay's schedule. Oh, okay, cool. I'd be interested to see that, actually. I'm looking at this. Oh, yeah, you got some toughies there. You got you should beat the Broncos. Should easily beat the Falcons. You could probably beat the Eagles if Baker keeps playing like he is. The only real question marks I see on your schedule are like Kansas City and San Francisco, and maybe New Orleans. And is CMC out, by the way? Is he done for the season? I think he is. So maybe 49ers aren't as scary as they once were. Plus, didn't they just lose to somebody, the 49ers? I don't remember. Yeah, who did they lose to? Somebody they shouldn't have lost to, right? All right, folks. Well, here we are at the end again. These things always fly by. And as a reminder, we won't be here next week, unfortunately. I'll be doing the 48-Hour Film Festival, but we will return on 10/4, Friday, the 4th of October. So that'll be fun. All right. Reminder before we get out of here, please send all your questions, concerns, complaints, critiques, criticisms to bardadvice@gmail.com. That's the email for the show. It also looks like bardadvice. Send all of your questions there. If you want to get some merch, do so over at manshorts.com and or go to krakendice.com and get yourself a set of the Man Shorts dice that we've released with them this year. If you want to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. We will not be back next week, but we will be back the following week, 10/4, same Bard time, same Bard channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. Thanks again to all of our members, patrons, super chatters. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, rate the podcast, join the Discord, play BardGo. The audio for this podcast, as always, will be made available tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Standard Time. I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend and an even better week, and we will see you next time.